Join us for another episode where real men have real conversations about leadership, relationship, morality, and dominion. Welcome to Man Code.
Good evening, viewing audience. My name is Jonathan Russell. I want to welcome you to Season 1, Episode 1 of Man Code. Joining me this evening, I have Danielle Lewis, I have Pastor Malcolm Crawford, and I have Austin McMurray. I'd like to thank these gentlemen for joining this panel discussion tonight. We are excited. This is going to be a great season, a great topic. And I want to tell the viewing audience, definitely subscribe to the channel. You're definitely going to like it. Like the video and share it. You definitely welcome that. Even if you don't like the video, still share it because somebody else might like it. So don't hold them back from getting the enjoyment that you may not like yourself. But definitely, we want to see everyone get in on this, enjoy the Man Code, and vibe and rock with us. So, gentlemen, tonight, we're actually going to talk about defining what a man code is. We kind of kicked around that idea, being that that's the name of our group. So we thought we'd kind of start with that, breaking the ice, kind of letting you get a feel for where our thought process is and where we're going with this all around. So, Danielle, you came up with a very interesting definition for what a man code is. You happen to recall what that was?
Not really, man. You know, for me, these are one-offs.
Well, good thing I wrote your one-off down.
Hey.
You said that a man code is a collection of rules that every man should live by. Okay. And honestly, off the surface, I can't disagree with that. I have to say, though, you need rules for those who want to break them. So I definitely understand the reason for a quote-unquote man code.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask this question, and you gentlemen can jump in on this. Viewing audience, we're going to be roundtabling this, so you'll hear different ones answer at different times, but it's all authentic. Now, why should there even be a code or rules governing men's interactions with each other? Why do we even need that?
Well, I'll jump in. Go ahead. No, you go ahead, man. Go.
All right. Well, that's a good question because, you know, if you've been around men, and I'm sure you guys all have, men need boundaries. Men need guidelines. Men need lines because men are habitually, they are line crossers. So you have to get an understanding with a man. You can think that you know a man and he's your best bud or whatever, but sometimes if things aren't spelled out, if things aren't clear, you could have some missteps, some misunderstandings, and some things could happen. But that's just not indicative of men. That's society in general. We all need rules and boundaries because, of course, if we don't have rules, regulations, you're going to have chaos, anarchy, and all those types of things. But especially dealing with men because, you know, like I say, you just have to watch men, you know. Men can be interesting. So I think things are spelled out. I think it will help the relationship, and it sets clear parameters what one can expect from one another if they abide by those. If you break those, then you can have some serious issues, discrepancies, and things that maybe go south.
All right, I like that.
Yeah, you threw a whole new little bit of revelation, man, on the passage of scripture where Jesus is dealing with the men that brought the prostitute, and it was like, you know, we caught her in the act of. And the Bible said that he drew a line in the sand. It was like, and earlier when you were talking about, we got to create lines so that we can know where we actually are, where we stand and where we kind of fall short. And so I was just, when you were talking about that, I was like, oh man, that's probably why Jesus drew that line in the sand. It was like, okay, here's a definitive line. If you are without this sin, that's a man code. If you're out with this sin, cast the first stone. And so, you right, man, as far as, you know, I think that men, I'm not saying we're looking to cross lines, but I will say that if there aren't certain standards established or set in life, you don't know when you're crossing. So I think man code in some aspects is there in order to give us guidelines. You know, I tell my kids all the time, it's like your parents are like the guardrails to the right and left of a road. They're there to keep you on the path heading in the direction you want to go. I think man code was designed to do that. So I don't mess up the relationships that I'm trying to develop with my fellow brotherhood.
Good answer.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I agree with everybody 100%. Just kind of setting those boundaries, because I feel like as men, we can try to get away with as much as we can, but still maintaining the trust of other people. And that within itself is conniving, is backstabbing, is being disloyal, is being dishonest. So with man codes in place, I think we just kind of learn how to interact and have relationships with each other. I feel like that's one thing as men that we're not taught, is like how to have relationships with each other. And so with those man codes in place, like you all said, there's a set of rules, there's a set of guidelines, and there's like a level of respect that we can have for each other with having those guidelines in place, because we're prideful. We'll get whatever we want to do. We'll get whatever we want and do whatever we need to do to get it. And so just having those guidelines in place holds us accountable and helps us to maintain meaningful relationships and friendships, especially within manhood.
If I could also throw this in here, I don't think this will get us off track a little bit. If you've ever been an athlete, you play sports, you've been in a locker room too, they have codes in there too. There's certain things like, you know, if you've been in a locker room with men and so forth, there's codes too that you have to abide by. They talk about the baseball, the unwritten rules and so forth. You go to the locker room, things take place, things that are said in the locker room. You definitely have to set some standards, because I tell you, you know, when you get a bunch of men around, so wherever you are, if it's just with your buddies, your homies, or if you're on some type of team or whatever, it could even, you know, you just need to establish some things, man. You know, hey, you know, because there's certain things you can't do. You know, guys will do almost anything. And I'm not, hopefully, I'll just leave it like that. Men have a propensity, they could do almost anything if, you know, depending on the environment, locker room, wherever they are. So you need to establish those. If they're broken, it can really mess up the culture of the team, things like that. See, so you have to set rules, whether it's on an individual basis or if you're in a group environment.
Now, y'all gave some real good answers. You really didn't leave me with much to say, but that's all right. When you were talking about lines, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, shoot, forget some lines. We need walls. We need like 13 feet, 8 by 13 walls, just to keep us aligned, because naturally our tendency is to go a little wild. Like you said it best, Austin, when we have the opportunity. So it's almost like, yeah, I'll behave myself, but when opportunity arises, I'm gonna act up. The one thing I found about a lot of the quote unquote man code rules that are out there, a lot of them pertain to women and just not touching that. So as far as your buddies, I'm just gonna leave that go. We'll get back to that one later. Next question I got for y'all. Each man has his own man code bylaws. What are some of your own personal integral man code rules?
You
I'll
guys
go first on this one because I got mine off the head.
I
ahead,
guess
John.
I don't go first. I don't want to go first.
Okay. One of mine basically is keep my eyes to myself. Now, I say eyes because I had a hard time in the past keeping my hands to myself. My thing is, if my eyes in the right place, I ain't got to worry about my hands. And that's pertaining to something that does not belong to me. So, and specifically, that's women. I'm just going to keep it real. So one thing you have to look at is how you're governed, how you're coming off the people, what you want to represent. I'm not going to sit around and oogle somebody knowing that even if they single, I'm a married man. I have no business doing that. So that's one of my man code rules right there. Another one is basically just standing behind what I say. If I say it, I got to back that up. Otherwise, my word is not good. And number two, I had no business running my mouth. So those are two big deals to me. It's like, hey, be what you say you are, do what you say you're gonna do, and keep your eyes to yourself.
Yeah, okay. Now I see where you're going. So so I would say one personal man code that I have is I don't front hug women. I only side hug women, and I don't hug anyone that potentially has an interest in me.
Cool. That's a good one.
Well, as far as me, when it comes to, I like that what Danielle said too, because I'm like that too. I'm not one that's going to do anything like that with another female in particular. Even before I have to, didn't want to. I shouldn't say I didn't want to say this, but with my life, it kind of takes, two forms. The old man and the new man. Now, let me speak on the old man first. Before I came into Christ, and just want to say it like this. My code, my man code was a lot lax, a lot looser. You see, didn't have quite the respect for the other man. I wasn't just going to violate him, but it wasn't as tight as it now. So nowadays I operate more integrity and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? If it was my, my tight friend, we'll get to that later too. But all I'm trying to say is the rules were different, pre and post. You know what I'm saying? So right now they're a lot tighter. But back in the day, I don't know if I had a whole lot of codes, truthfully, but now I respect. My code, I would say today would be, hey, just treat people like I would want to be treated. Respect, because I know men are big about respect. I'm not going to disrespect a man. I'm always going to give them dignity, respect them as a man, never look at them as lower, respect the person, that type of thing. For example, if you're with, let's say, for example, I've seen this happen a lot of times in church, and I'm just going to call it out like this. You can be with the man of God, preacher per se, quote, and then people will walk right past you and won't acknowledge you. I'm going to shake hands with the person I see first, because he's a man just like the other man. I'm not going to walk by him just to, dap him up and ignore you like you're, a peon. You see, that's respect for me, to give everybody their due respect. You know what I'm saying? That's how I kind of roll.
Oh, that's great. That is great.
Yeah, I say for me, man, one of mine is don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Especially when it comes to men and our interactions, that can be seen as like, oh, you got beef, because we can be very uncontrolled with our temper a lot of times. And I don't want to be in a scenario, say I'm walking down the street, accidentally bump into a guy. It's never, why you bumping into me, bro? XYZ. It's like, oh, my fault, man. How you doing today? Because I just don't know everybody's temperament. And just to avoid situations amongst each other, unnecessary quarrels with each other, it's just like, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And then I gotta agree with you, Danielle and Jonathan, from the standpoint of like just kind of guarding my eyes, being mindful of different interactions with women, being in certain situations with women that can put me in a compromising position, even if in my heart I know I'm not doing anything. The optics of it can still be bad, and most people judge your character based on perception and not facts. So just kind of like killing those opportunities for someone to perceive something is something that I have to avoid as well. So
Oh, that's good. Y'all made me think of one more. And this is something that I did this for years, but just never really thought about it. I'm very careful with my compliments because I don't want to come off as flirtatious.
Yep.
And in some situations, particularly in some professional environments, and even especially being in church, you get that reputation as that cat, you mark for life. I don't care what you do, you just branded. So it's like everybody gonna X you because stay away from him. Yeah, he got a wife, but he ain't no good. So you have to just watch yourself, watch your surroundings, and roll tight. That's all I can say.
So if one of your members at church came and said, "Man, and share with your wife that you look very nice today," and your wife came back and you said, "Pastor Johnny Jones said I look nice today," how would you handle that? I'm just curious.
The wheels will be turning, but I wouldn't overreact. Because one thing, you always have to gauge the situation. You even have to gauge how, number one, I'm glad she would tell me that, because if she kept it to herself, then I'd be like, well, why do you keep that a secret? But at the same time, you have to gauge the temperament of that conversation. If she seemed like real excited about it, I'll be like, I compliment you 50 times a day. I don't get that reaction. But at the same time, you just kind of judge each situation for as it is.
Okay.
Like Austin said, don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
If I can make one more comment on that, one thing that I constantly have to remind myself is to rid myself of the "let me make sure I still got it" spirit. because
You too young for that, man.
look, man, look, I mean, it's tough, man, because like, you know, I'm keeping it real, like being married, you know, you with your wife for the rest of your life. Like there's no one else. And the temptation to make sure you still got it is definitely still there. Like, you know, you and your boys, like, you know, it's guys weekend or we hitting a football game, we hitting a basketball game, and some of your friends might be single. It's like, all right, y'all go ahead and do y'all thing. I'm gonna stay on over here in my seat. Y'all gonna have a good time because I have no reason to make sure that I still got it because I got my wifey at the crib. So,
Well, how do you know if you still have it?
Go ahead.
What'd you say, Pastor?
What are some signs if you still have it?
Oh, my wife's happiness at home. You know, when I come home, what's her reaction? Is she happy to see me? Is she sad to see me? And also taking that account of yourself as well, like being able to look within and say, am I doing everything I can do to make sure that my wife is still attracted to me? Because I feel like a lot of times as men, we can say, you know, I'm not attracted to my wife anymore, XYZ, but it's like, are we still attracted to our wives? You know, I think that's something that we have to take into consideration also.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you to, see if you still got it at home instead of trying to see if you still got it out there in the street.
In the streets. I ain't for the streets, man.
Put on that.
Good.
Dress up, put on that cologne, throw some one-liners, whatever you're trying to test out in the street, test that out at home.
Let me go in my my Donnell's red velvet bag for my wife and see what date ideas I got. So
hey,
I'm gonna put this out there for y'all men though. You really want to see if you got it. Your wife is used to you. Mm-hmm. She sees you all the time. She done seen you at your best and your worst. Mm-hmm. So if you still got it and you can make her excited, then there you go. You ain't got to go looking in the lake for some new fish. I'm just telling you. See, I take my shirt off and go oil up and walk around. I definitely test my got it zone. I'm trying to tell you. And don't think I'm playing either. But anyway, let's get to the next question. Y'all ready for that? Now,
go ahead.
This is interesting. Oh, go ahead, Daniel. What you about to say?
No. I said go ahead. You said next question.
All right. Has anyone ever broken a man code rule with a friend? What happened, and are you guys still cool?
I'll be 100% honest and say I definitely have. This was back in my adolescent years in high school. One of my guys, his girlfriend at the time, expressed that, she wasn't getting what she needed, and it's like, let me step on it. And it was like, we kind of on a break right now. I was like, all right, bet we on a break. And looking back on it, that wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all, man. And luckily, me and the guy, we still cool to this day. I was actually just texting him a couple days ago. But looking back on it, man, I'm like, this was like 2 years ago. I hit him up. I was like, bro, I owe you an apology, man. Like what I did was out of line. That wasn't cool. You know how you have those moments where you just randomly think about past actions and, you never took accountability for it or you never addressed it. It was one of those things where it just kind of creeped up on me. And I was like, look, bro, my apologies, man. I know we were, 16, 17 years old, but bottom line is it still shouldn't have happened. So I owned up, took accountability of it, even though it was years later. I still own my mistake on that one. So
way to man up, Austin.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no, I haven't. And the reason why I haven't is because of my father. My father wasn't necessarily a code keeper. And I saw how his life impacted my mother and people that were around him. And I just made a commitment that I never wanted to bring that into the life of someone else. And so I've always tried to be an upstanding person. You know what I'm saying? I always tried to be, I'm not going to say I hadn't, tried to be a player and try to date multiple women at the same time and all the rest of that stuff, but it's just like one of those things as far as a man code, as far as me doing something to another brother. Nah.
Well,
man, character, high value.
I don't know about high value, but
Well, I guess I would have to qualify that a little bit by saying friend versus best friend, because, you know, when you're coming through high school and so forth, I had a lot of what we call quote friends, and I didn't consider the code it was applicable to them. Now, my best friends, you know, like as you say, your road dogs, maybe 2 or 3. No, it was like, nah, I can't do that. But if you were just like, we just on the same football team, basketball team, you know, hey man, it's all good, you know. Same thing with me, you know. My thing was, you know, I won't tell on myself too much, but if it wasn't your best girl, if it was your main girlfriend, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Even with my best friends, you know, hey, you can't mess with my main girlfriend, and they know who that was. You see what I'm saying? We going back in the day now. So yeah. If most of them not my best girlfriend, and they understood that too. Other than that, as they say, all bets were off, man. You know, so you know that's how it was back in the day.
You know, it's funny how all of our violations, with the exception down here, all of our violations center around women. I'm in that same boat. I'm gonna go back to probably my last year of high school. I had a buddy, and we were actually cool. I mean, close. I went after his ex, and I told him about it, but I think that put a damper on our friendship. I think that kind of broke, in my mind, you know, I'm like, you know, you don't think at that age fully, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, it's all good. You know, he said he ain't, you know, but in the same sense, the trust wasn't there from he to myself. And so that's something that if I can go back, I would change that, because that wasn't right. And even though they had broken up, the thing is, that's something that for that type of friendship, you just don't do. So that's just my take on that. So next question, Joe. Now everybody's done telling themselves. Loyalty is important, but does lying for my friend or friends' wrong actions work more to help him or more to hurt me?
Well, that's an excellent question. Of course, now, and I, you know, two lives. Today, I wouldn't lie for a friend unless, you know, where there are circumstances. Let's say, for example, we're fighting an enemy, I get taken prisoner of war. Okay, that type of circumstance. But just in general, all things being above equal integrity and all that. No, I'm not going to put myself in that position to lie for you when you know where I am in, what type of person I'm in today. But back in the day, I can give you a situation. Yeah, it was a serious situation, and I did it because of, quote, you know, as they say, ride or die. I was with that guy, it was a serious offense. It was some serious stuff, perjury, all those things involved. But yeah, I did it to cover him and to let him know that I had his back. Would I do it today? Of course not. And I would tell him, don't ever put me in that position again. We've had that conversation. But back then, that's the type of guy that I was. I believe that he was also. You know, that's just how it was back in the day.
Who else want to chop in on that? You know I got something to say. I'm gonna let y'all go.
You might as well go ahead.
All right. I'm on these telling myself moments tonight. So on one end, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was to some of my boys, I was the good friend to their girls. Okay. So I had no problem, you know, oh yeah, he was with me. Oh yeah, you know, I had no problem doing that. Now, as I look back and as I just look over things, I would not put myself in that situation because number one, you watch the company you keep. So number one, I'm not going to be with anybody that's going to compromise me or themselves to have to be in a position to lie. Number two, knowing the Lord, that's a violation of my heart. And that's something that the Bible say, all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire with brimstone. So number one, that can send me to hell. Just for me lying, you know, and I may do it with a good cause, a just action, but you also have to look at the chain of events. Number one, why am I in a situation where I have a friend that wants me to lie for him? Number two, shouldn't I be able to give him some light so he doesn't even have to be in that boat? And three, if he is, that's his problem. I need to stay out of that. That's what he did, and I need to keep my heart clean. So.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think it also, encourages bad behavior on the part of your boy. And I feel like that's a man code violation as well, just like encouraging your partner to make bad decisions. And I think that's something that would hurt me more than anything, because not only does your boy lose trust with his girl, the law, or whatever, but now you lose trust with all these people because you're now identified as a liar. And it's like it could start off as something small, as simple as like, oh yeah, he was with me. He wasn't cheating on you, XYZ, to now your boy getting in trouble with the law. And it's like, bro, I need you to come through for me. And it's like manifesting itself in so many ways. It starts small and it continues to grow, and at some point you got to say stop. But the unfortunate thing is you've already established yourself as a person in your boy's life who will lie for him. And if you get to that point where you don't anymore, only God knows what he'll be willing to do to you, since you didn't come through for him and lie for him again. So I think it just puts you in a dangerous position if you continue to be that in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to add that, Danielle?
I really don't have anything to say, man, except for
Danielle is a good dude. I'm trying to tell you, he's a role model.
I am not trying to paint no picture. You just ain't turned down my
you a
street.
compliment.
You just ain't turned down my street. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I think I told you guys in earlier conversations, man, that I would just tell people, if you don't want it told, don't come my way. I'm not serving time for nobody. I just value my personal freedom just a little bit too much, to put now I get Pastor Malcolm, you know what I'm saying? But what I try, because let's put it this way. My friends I've always hung around individuals who are always 1 foot from incarceration. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's always hanging around with the individuals that are 1 step from incarceration. And I'm the one that's like, you may want to rethink that. You may not necessarily want to go that particular direction, And so, so even when I even talked to my sons and when we struggle with stuff, and I was like, look, I said, I'm not raising you, man, for incarceration. I'm telling you right now, on this side, I'm with you 120%. If you get arrested, I'm not bailing you out. If you go to jail, I'm telling you right now, I'm spending too much time and energy on this side trying to prevent you from going over there to then spend more time and resources now that I don't want to spend in a system I don't want you in. And so,
yeah, that's good.
So I just, I just tell my friends that I told you guys that, my man code for spousal issues is that if you come to my house with luggage, you can't stay. I'll give you money to go stay at a hotel and tell you to go back home. You got to work that out. You're not going to bring your family drama into my home. You got me and my wife not arguing about your stuff? Nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
That's man code.
That's man code. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. And even with, I wish I would have had that information and that knowledge back in the day too, because I think I would have done things differently. I agree totally with you 100%, because back then I just wasn't in that right frame of mind. That's how I thought, that was a lower level thinking. I love what you guys were saying, because Austin touched on this real good. The Bible says evil communication corrupts good manners, you see. So if you're around those type of people that do that stuff, it's going to affect you eventually. But see, I didn't have that revelation back then. So I'm thinking, okay, but if I would have had that light, I agree with you guys 100%. I was just in darkness, that dark mindset. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not happy about that. I was there, but it was unfortunate. But that's just how we came up. And it's unfortunate. A lot of people are like that today. They just don't have that light. And that's my way. That's why maybe this particular show can help them to see, hey, man, I'm like, I agree with Danielle. Hey, man, I ain't trying to do no time for you. I'm with you 100%. But, back then it was just a different mindset. So now I have a higher level of thought, which is a mind of Christ. And no, I got too much to, to live for than set in the pokey,
Well, that's good. That's good. See, that just shows the maturation and the character development, number one, of knowing God. So that's good right there. Your mind gets elevated. And again, if I can go back, it's a lot of lying, conniving, craziness. No, you wouldn't have heard that from me. But that was a good answer, Joe. I love this. Now I'm gonna ask you this. Is there ever a reason to violate or break a man code?
I would say yes, always. I would say, and I think some of it really has to do with where your line of demarcation is, with whatever code that actually is. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave my statement, because that changes for different men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It changed for different men for different situations. So I'll say that a man code is not 10 commandments. You know what I'm saying? Man code is, once again, I think, a guideline to help men walk in harmony. There was I forget who the gentleman was, but he talked about the difference between community and communitas. Like, communitas is what soldiers actually have. There is this camaraderie that is built with people that you lock arms with and go through life or war and battle. That's an unbreakable bond that you have. Even when you come back, there's nothing that soldier won't do for somebody he fought in war with. There's no distance he won't go for that person. But even in that, there's a code that they walk by. Whether it was a military code, whether it was a code that was built with inside of them fighting back to back, dragging somebody out, you know what I'm saying, whatever that is, there was this code. And so I think as men, we have that. It's like the same thing among African American men. Wherever you go, you see another African American man, you do like this, you already know what that is. It's like it's not written anywhere. It's just been said that what this is, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't get the head nod, then you get the eyebrow. I'm like, okay, maybe he is not friend, maybe he is foe, or maybe he's not in the right mood, or, you know what I'm saying, maybe he doesn't see me as friend, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if people start processing like that, but I do. I start, if I give a head nod and you don't head nod me back, or some type of way down or up, I don't know. My eye is on you now because I'm not quite sure. My point basically is that there are just certain things that we have as codes that we live by to help us govern our relationships with each other. So
that's good. Good answer. Good answer. You want to tag on that, Austin?
Not too much to say, man, but just to harp on this point, I feel like when my good character is in jeopardy, then I gotta just break all laws of man code, man. I gotta choose myself at some point. And when it gets to a point where, like I said, my character is in jeopardy, I'm sorry, bro, I love you, but I can't continue to operate like this. And I think that's okay, because it shows you where your friendship level is with that particular person. And it exposes something that you probably needed to be made aware of. And it's like, all right, this is company that I can't keep, unfortunately, even if y'all been boys for 10, 15, 20 years. If something happens and it's like, nah, this isn't serving me well, and you got to get out of that thing. So
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, you guys nailed that. And like Austin hit a good point. If your friends really know you and they really respect you, most of the time they're not going to come to you with all this stuff. If they really respect you and trust you, because I've had situations where this is many years ago, and then my buddy said, "No, man, I'm not going to put you in that situation because you're not like that." Even before I got saved, you know what I'm saying? And that's a good friend, and I appreciate that, because hey, yeah. So I agree with you guys totally on that. But yes, like you say, they definitely can be. Those codes can definitely be broken, and I agree with that.
Yeah, one thing we hear a lot about is being your brother's keeper, and that goes on two ends of the fence. Yes, you want to be your brother's keeper to help him in situations to uphold, but at the same time, if that's your brother, he's not going to put you into a situation that's going to violate who you are. So you have to look at that dynamic right there. It's like, okay, are we just casual? With a casual person, you could use them, shove them to the side and keep it moving. But if it's somebody in your heart, then naturally, yes, you got to walk a finer line with that. So I definitely agree with everything you man has said. Kind of touched on this already. Is there a higher level of man codes for men we have established relationships with versus all men in general?
Absolutely.
So let's give an example, like us on this cast. We know each other very well, very personal. Now, do we have a higher level of understanding versus guys that we just may know?
I would say, honestly, it causes me to want to adhere to the codes that we know more because of the relationship that I have with versus, so I think it goes back to the levels of relationships, to Pastor Malcolm's point, earlier when he was talking about, the different kinds of friendships that he was talking about. I think, I think it requires, just like, like a wife versus a girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? There's this higher level of commitment that I want to have with my wife than I did with a girlfriend or somebody that I was dating, you know what I'm saying? To the point where I wanted to cut covenant and honor that for life. The same thing in relationships. I think it's just something that you want to do more because you value the relationships that you forged.
You hit that on the head. Hit that
Yeah.
on the head.
And I would say with you guys here, my goal is to continue to elevate the relationship that we can get to that higher level. We have a higher level already because we're brothers in Christ, and therefore we understand what that entails to a degree. But obviously, as you get to know one another on a closer level, and we become more intimate and those types of things, of course, I think that would enhance the relationship. I feel with you guys right now, if I were to tell you something, I could pretty much trust you, it wouldn't go anywhere. I don't think you guys would violate, because you have to, as brothers in Christ, you also have to be discerning too. There are people that come into wherever you go in the body of Christ, and you just have to discern too, because everybody there, you have to be cautious, mindful, and you have to just be, you don't want to be watching people with that crooked eye, but you just have to be sharp. Now, I've been in the body of Christ for a long time too, and it took me a while to develop relationships because, and I'm just going to be honest with you. People say, well, we're in covenant. And then all of a sudden you're in covenant, you leave the church. I haven't heard from you. You don't call me. What you talking about? We're brothers. What's this all about? I thought we were down. I've left. When I came, I got people at the other church. They don't know how they call me no more. I thought we was cool. I thought we was covenant, And I mean, that's where church hurt and all that stuff coming. I wasn't hurt by it, but man, so I'm kind of, when it comes to building relationships, I'm cautious. I'm trying to be discerning, and I want to develop and really get to know. But everybody there, they say with this, but you just have to develop your own relationship, and you have to work that dynamic out. But with this group here, I can say I have a lot of confidence in you gentlemen.
Yeah, if I could
I'll add to that. Oh, go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man. I've been doing a lot of talking. Go ahead, bro.
All right. I'm just going to get this out real quick. So I have to answer yes to that, because one thing you have to look at is you establish relationships with different men and you become more like brothers to one another. There's a larger dynamic because now you're getting to know possibly your spouses are connecting. You have children, very similar, that's connection, different family members, different friends. So now you're building a network of family and community off that friendship. So that's a higher level of respect. So naturally, you're going to guard that more. You're going to be a lot more respectful about how you approach certain things, how you say, because again, you have more on the table with this. So that's going to pull more out of you, but that's just going to blossom that even further. Now, I'm not saying you don't respect any man in general, but again, it's just that esteem of development. That's what you're aiming for right there.
Yeah. What I was getting ready to say was, when I was listening to Pastor Malcolm, I started processing, relationships, in relationships that I have in my life with individuals that I don't see on a regular basis or that I don't even speak to on a regular basis, but I could pick up the phone and have an hour and a half conversation with them. And it feels like there's been no time gap in between me and that particular person. And so it really just caused me to start thinking about, there are people who are in my life, but may not be in my life as far as in my social circle, but are in my life almost like an auntie or uncle or cousin, somebody who you just don't see, but you are you're close to, and you have people who are friends that are in those same type of relationship circles, that, like I said, again, if I pick up a phone and call, I was like, man, let me pick up the phone. I hadn't talked to, Raymond in a year, and pick up, and boom, you can't get off the phone. And the first thing you guys promise, like, man, we got to keep this going. It's like when you go to the funeral or to the wedding and you see somebody, we got to stop meeting at funerals and weddings. We got to start, because then you remember the relationship. You remember what joy or what fellowship you had in connection with each other, that makes you want to draw. So I'm agreeing with you, Pastor Malcolm, but at the same time, it was like the thing of, has it really severed the relationship or friendship that you have with them because of distance? Could you still call that person and that person still be that hour-long conversation? It's just the fact that you're out of social circles. I told my father this, and he was like, that was interesting you said that. My father was in Detroit. I'm in Kalamazoo. He was recovering from, he had a cabbage done. He had his chest cracked open, and they had to switch around some arteries and stuff in his heart. And I said, man, I got to bring you to Kalamazoo to get you into my circle. And he was like, get you into my circle? I was like, yeah. I said, if I bring you to Kalamazoo, now when I get off work, I go straight to the hospital to check on you, or I go straight to the nursing home to check on you, because now you're within my sphere of connection. In Detroit, I don't have that. I got to drive 2 hours where I can now drive 15 minutes. It is it's just proximity sometimes, and I know sometimes proximity can feel like rejection, but it's just the fact that it's just proximity, and the person really still is in that relationship.
That's deep. Wow. I really like it. I'm kind of stumped. That was good. Okay. Austin, you got anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I would say so. There's a different level of man code that comes with deeper relationships, because I just feel like the deeper the relationship, the higher the level of accountability. If I see a guy in the street or whatever, man code, I'm gonna say what's up to you. I'm gonna respect you. I'm gonna acknowledge you. If you decide that you want to have a conversation with me, cool. Like, that's man code, that we just connect on that level. But when it comes to friendships and meaningful relationships, especially when you have like spiritual connection with people, I think there's a different level of accountability that comes with that. So definitely, the deeper the friendship, the more, I don't want to use the word strict, but the more stick to itness of the man code that we have to be, just because we care about each other on a deeper level. Like, I'll give a personal story. One of my best friends just got married. Well, he's been married for about 2 years now, and it was his bachelor party. Uber driver. She was like super interested in him, and I took it upon myself. I think, Jonathan, I told you about this. I took it upon myself to just like check in on him, like, yo, what's going on? Where you at? Because it was like 10 of us, so we got separated. I was like, what's going on? Where you at? Like, don't do nothing stupid, bro. I'm checking on you or whatever. And it was a shirt that he bought that night and left it in the Uber. And when he got back, I said, yo, come here. I pulled him aside. Let me talk to you for a second. And literally, God put it on my heart to pray over that shirt, because it was in this person's car that I was trying to get him to slip. And God was just like, pray over that shirt. Any spirit that's connected to it, just pray over it. And I knew that we had that type of relationship where I could do that for him, where I could, show my spiritual side and just have that moment of like, yo, I'm your brother, bro. It's my job to pray for you, look out for you. And I expect you to do the same. Whereas, like, if we don't have that deep of a connection, I'm still going to pray for you, but I'm not going to text you like, yo, where you at? What you doing? Just because we don't have that kind of friendship established.
That's good. I say prayer is the highest level of being your brother's keeper you can achieve. Now, God established the original man codes called the 10 Commandments. Does what God said overlap into most men's social man codes? I'm gonna start with this one.
Everybody hesitating.
I'm gonna say yes and no. I think one big miss with men, and God said it clearly in Bible, he called it covetousness. That's really just being jealous, and one was not yours. So I think that's something that men don't really have the strictest concept of, because one thing is our eyes are always bigger than our stomach. And I'm not just talking about just with women, but in general, we have a tendency to want to have more than what is ours. You know, we look in terms of money. We look in terms of anything monetary. You know, we want to do it big. We want to have a lot, and then we want to always be better than the Joneses. So that level of competition, that level of comparison, I think that's something that a lot of men just need to look at and establish an identity for, because a lot of that's just knowing yourself. If you know who you are, you know who you were created to be, you don't have to worry about the next man's. I'm not eyeballing your car. I'm not eyeballing your house. I'm not, giving you a grunt because I see your grass greener than mine. I'm not giving you a dirty look and then, trying to whisper at your wife on the side because she looked way better than mine. I'm not doing all these things because, again, I'm comfortable in my zone. So I think if anything, that's a big one that we can definitely work at.
Right, I agree with you on that too. You hit some key points, and one of the key points was really knowing who you are and who you are in Christ. And I'll be honest with you, I was in Christ for a long time, and I used to referee basketball. And honestly, that coveting thing really came into play with me a little bit. Some of my friends, and some of the associates that I work with, I had been refereeing for a while, and I was doing okay. But the goal for most of the officials was to get that state championship game at the Breslin Center back then. And you see guys that just come in and 5 and 10 years and they're getting promoted, because of whatever reasons, politics or whatever. And then you're saying to yourself, man, I'm better than them, Lord. Why, why can't, all those things go to you. And so you say, man, so I had to kind of deal with that thing, then finally the Lord just shared with me, hey, what I have for you is for you, and just rest and just, stay the course, because some things you can't control, but man, me and my friend started at the same time 20 years ago, and now he's had 2 state championships, and I'm still down here at the regional level, so you do have those thoughts sometimes, but it's a maturity piece. It's also recognizing who you are in Christ and those types of things too. And yeah, so it does happen, and I was guilty of that in Christ.
We are works in progress.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Y'all, anything y'all want to add on that, Austin or Danielle?
I honestly was just going to say, if it's not, then it should definitely be overlaid into your man codes. Actually, it should be your first 10 man codes.
I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that.
Yeah,
I think that'll save a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
a lot of homes will still be together. So I'm not knocking that one bit.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I never thought about that, but I was like, well, since we're making codes, you might as well go ahead and make that your top 10, and then from there, add whatever code you want to add.
Now, I'm going to throw an audible in here. Why doesn't God want people sleeping around? Why doesn't God want men and women sleeping around before they get married? I know this is a simple thing, but I just want to throw this out here. Why would he establish that as one of his codes?
Well, blinders.
I was going to say because he's covenant. And so in the whole construct of procreation is to build legacy and dynasty. So when you're connecting yourself to other individuals and producing seed that you have no intentions on creating covenant with, now you have Ishmaels. You have individuals who have first birthright, but don't have the covenant. And so I think another thing is just on a flat out financial piece is that having children outside of covenant can produce struggle or poverty, because obtaining anything without the financial ability to support it, basically produces lack, and he's not a producer of lack. So two individuals with combined incomes raising a child has a greater chance of success. That's just mathematics, and I believe God is just that smart to know that, when he creates the family unity, he's putting the child in the best position in order for growth and development and for their life pursuit. So
You hit
that's
that
my
on the
stab at
head.
it.
No, you hit that on the head, because first thing I thought about was family, which is what God created man for, which is our purpose, and then community. You don't have a community without families in that community. So you just have to look at both those dynamics and tie them together.
Very good.
You want to add anything to that, Pastor Malcolm? I know I see
you guys.
the issue.
You guys did a great job, and of course, God is so much pro-family covenant, and he doesn't want the male to scatter his seed, because God recognizes the value of the seed. So therefore, that's why he put man and woman. And like I tell you, when you start, like you say, but Danielle mentioned the Ishmaels and so forth, it causes so many problems within the particular home of that family, how it caused a problem with Sarah and so forth, you see. So that's, outside children are just going to cause more problems within the family, which can lead to many more problems. Not saying that the family still can thrive and make it over the obstacles, but, it is just so much easier to raise your family, your children with a natural mother and father, not that it can't be done, versus step parents and so forth, because you have so many different challenges, dynamics. It becomes very difficult, even though it can be done. But yeah, God's way was to have family, as you guys have stated. So yeah, and he doesn't want to, be out there fornicating anyway, flee fornication, all those types of things. God hates it and all that. We know it's a sin, and all the other things that happens when you do that. But yeah, that's what I believe is the reason. You guys summed that up real well.
All right. Also, you want to chirp on that?
Yeah, man. I would just say it really saves you from, how can I put it? I think it saves you from emotional stress. The emotions of trying not to bring your past into your present. Soul ties are a real thing. This is kind of a joke, but this is just the reality. Going to homecoming for me, my first year, being with my wife now was rough, because it was like I just didn't know what was gonna happen. And lo and behold, somebody I used to mess with was trying to get disrespectful, trying to get all in my face. And it's just like you have those moments where you be like, man, now I'm seeing why it's so important to like stay away and abstain and not engage in that activity, because you don't realize how valuable that activity is until you're actually married and covenant is involved with it, and you're just like freely handing yourself out, not realizing the future damage that you do to yourself. So that's just my take on it.
Sound like you still got
I'm
Question answer.
gonna throw a little topping on that, and this made me think of something too. You look at the fact that as a man, most men who don't know God, or even something to do, I ain't gonna lie. Your ideal is to bed down as many women as you can before you settle down. Now, the problem with that, to be honest with you, is you have to undo all that habit when you find your one. And now you find that one who you have to develop a whole different dynamic with. And who's to say, because you tested everything under the sea, that you're going to be satisfied with just that one? That one may not do it for you right away. So now you feel like, well, I got to go back to my old patterns to satisfy myself because she's boring. Whereas if you hadn't been all under the sun with everybody, you wouldn't know what boring, exciting, hot, cold, you wouldn't know any of that, because that's all you know. So I really think that's one reason why God established that, was so that it's for our own good. Because I think it's in Proverbs, stolen waters are sweet, meaning things that don't belong to you, naturally, yeah, they're good for the moment because it's an excitement. But you always have to look at the end from the beginning. Always know that there's always going to be a consequence regardless of how you look at it. Even if you never have drama with people, you'll have drama in your own heart, just trying to undo some of the movie reels you created from your past experiences and trying to compare that and live up to that now. And that's not gonna work. So.
Wow, that's good. I would like to address that though. I think it really works. Of course, it depends on the individual. I think once you get really saved and transformed and God has really delivered you from that, because with me, like I say, I tell you, when I was prior to salvation, I was out there a little bit. But once I got saved, I never had the desire. I didn't have that roaming high. I didn't have any of that. I was just focused totally on that one particular person I was married to. So in my eyes, God blessed me because, you know, I'm not saying it happens to everybody, but I never struggled with that, truthfully. Those thoughts and so forth, never thought about, am I missing anything? Like you say, but like you say, I guess it's because my prior experience, you know, and so forth. But once I got saved, man, my whole thing was to please God and honor him and be the husband of one wife, that type of thing. And you see, so, but like you say, it may vary from each individual, but for me, God has blessed me in that area. And like I say, yeah, so I'm thankful for where I'm at this point.
See, that's great. Sometimes, like Pastor Mom, God does a quick work, and some works in progress.
It's a blessing. Yeah.
Hey, that's good though. This has been a good conversation, gentlemen. I'm looking forward to our next one. I'm gonna tell the viewing audience right now. Definitely want you to like the video because I know you like this. I want you to subscribe to Man Code. Put your notifications on so you can know when we're up. We have another video dropping next week, special edition for Valentine's Day. We will actually have special guests on next week, our wives. Yeah. So, you know, we ain't able to get away with nothing. So if you want to see us get called out on the carpet for what we ain't doing, tune in next week. I think you'll enjoy this. And our wives definitely will too. But again, subscribe to Man Code, like the video, and share this. We want to get men involved. We even want you ladies to share this with your men if you're watching and he's not with you. Definitely get some dialogue going on around this because the more we understand each other, the more harmony we all have. That's it right there. So I just want to thank everybody for just tuning in to this first edition, season 1, episode 1 of Man Code. Join us next week, Monday at 7, which can be replayed anytime. We'll be back for a special Valentine's Day edition of Man Code. Thank you and good night.